Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, we're going to be looking at this routing between different VLANs. How can I make VLAN 10 talk to VLAN 20, VLAN 20 to 30, and so on? So look what we're going to do. First of all, I'm going to get myself a switch. So here's a switch, right? As you see. Then I'm going to get a few actual computers. One, two, three, four, five, six. And I'm going to get myself a router because I'm going to actually need it for later, which means I'm trying to do inter-VLAN routing between different VLANs. I'm not going to connect the router first. So I'm just going to give the actual names over here and see over here. Here's router one, and here's actually what? Switch one. All right, let me make my actual connections. Watch this. So this is going to go to port one. This one's going to go to port two, and this is going to go to port three, four, five, and six. Right? Five and six. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to each machine and give it a static IP. I will be showing you how DHCP works. So this one is going to be 10.1. I'm not putting a default gateway. Later on, I'll be putting a default gateway, and you'll see why. And this one is 10.2. Close and close. And this one is what? 20.1. All right. So this is 20.1. And this one is 20.2. So this one is 20.2. Each one, I'm going to have three VLANs, VLAN 10, VLAN 20, and VLAN 30. And this one is going to be 30.1. See that? Close and close. And this one is going to be 30.2. So put 30.2, right? Just like that. So this one is VLAN 10. See this? VLAN 10. This one also is what? VLAN 10. This one is VLAN 20. And this one is VLAN 20. I have VLAN 30 and VLAN what? 30, as you see, right? So I'm just labeling these better so we know what VLANs they belong to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my switch and I'm going to create the VLANs, just like what we did in earlier classes. Watch this. So I'm going to go ahead, host name, switch one. Okay, so that's my name of the switch. So then I'm going to say VLAN 10. Watch this. Name sales. VLAN 20, name, let's say HR. VLAN 30, name is what? QA. So I have all these. Now I'm going to exit. I'm going to say interface range F0/1 to 2, switch port access VLAN 10, and ports 3 through 4. Watch this. VLAN 20, and ports 5 and 6, VLAN 30, right? Watch this. And then I'm going to minimize. Then I'm going to do WR. Now watch this. When I do show VLAN, look at this. I have VLAN 10, 20, and 30, and I have the corresponding ports. You see that? Just like this. So everything looks normal and fine. Remember, I could do show VLAN ID space 10, right? I could do that. ID space 10. So I could see that. So that's what a VLAN I could actually look at ID space 10. Now, what I want to do is actually the following. My main goal over here is to allow VLAN 10 to talk to VLAN 20, 20 to talk to 30, and so on. So by default, if I put envelope on 10 to 10, success. Remember, the same VLANs, folks, can actually talk to each other, right? And VLAN 30 should be able to talk to what? To VLAN 30. So everything looks fine. Oh, I did laptop 4 to 4. So VLAN 30 should be able to talk to VLAN 30. Laptop 4 to laptop 5. Remember, the reply from the ping is what? ICMP. Now, what I want to do is actually the following. I want to allow one VLAN to talk to another. So if I go ahead and I put envelope over here and I put envelope over here, it's going to say failed. I like to do it twice because always the first time it fails. So if I try again, it's failing. That's where the router kicks in. The router is going to route between the different VLANs, folks. It's called inter-VLAN routing. If I use a router, that's called a router on a stick. That's the name of it, inter-VLAN routing. It's inter-VLAN routing. That's what it is. That's what it's actually all about, inter-VLAN routing. So I'm going to hook up a cable from the router to the switch to gigabit 01. See that? Just like this. So gigabit 00 to gigabit 01. So look what I do. I mean, you're going to tell me, well, like, Mo, this is one physical interface. Well, guess what? When I do a route on a stick, I'm going to divide this physical interface into sub interface. Each sub interface is going to be linked with a VLAN. Watch this. Let me open the router and show you how this actually works. So I'm going to click on no. And let me change the host name to router one. Okay. Interface gigabit 00. And I'm going to do a no shut. See this? So I'm going to turn the interface up and running. So that's what I'm going to be doing, turning the interface up and actually running. So then after that, you're going to tell me, are you going to assign an IP address on the physical interface? I'm going to say no. Look what I do. Interface gigabit 0/0 dot. And I put a question mark. Look, these are sub interfaces. So the first one, I'm going to give it a 10, which means I like to match the VLANs with the sub interfaces as you see. So I'm going to say ask for help. Okay. Encapsulation is the one that links the sub interface to the VLAN. So encapsulation, remember dot one Q and VLAN what? 10. Then I give it an IP address. Okay, this is going to be 10 dot what? 254. Space the default subnet mask. And then I hit the up arrow a few times and I do 20. And I'm going to do encapsulation.1q 20. And then give it an IP address as what? 20.254. Each one is on a different network. That's why it's called a router on a stick, right? Then I do VLAN what? I do the 30 sub interface. Okay. By default, the sub interface is up. You don't have to do no shut on it. VLAN 30. And then I put 30.254. That's what I put over here. Then I save my configuration. No IP route connected. Oh, this supports 10, 20, and 30, and each one is with a sub interface. If I maneuver the mouse over here, oh, you support the 10, 20, and 30 network. You see, the physical interface doesn't get an IP. Physical, we just do a no shut, and then I could actually do a sub interface for what? For each VLAN. That's how I could actually look at the information over here. Now, am I going to be able to talk from VLAN 10 to 20? Well, let me check. So VLAN 10 to VLAN 20, it's failing. VLAN 10 again to VLAN 20, it's failing. Well, the router is hooked up to the switch. So if you could pause the video and think about it for a few seconds, what else do I need to do? Okay, well, check this out. I have a connection from the router to the switch. This switch is gigabit 01. Okay, this gigabit 01 is only a member of VLAN number one. Watch this. Show VLAN. And I can see VLAN 10, 20, and 30, and gigabit 01 is only a member of VLAN number one over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking at trunking the port. Okay, so watch this. So config T. Interface gigabit 0/1. Switch port mode. So now I trunk the port that goes from the switch to the router. And I'm going to do WR. Show interface trunk. Now, when I do show interface trunk over here, look what I actually do. Encapsulation 802.1q. Okay, VLANs 1, 10, 20, and 30. So it is actually trunked, which means now when these machines want to talk to VLAN 20, it's going to go through the router and it's going to go down over here. Watch this. So look at this over here. That's what it's actually going to be doing. It's going to go through the router and then come down to these actual machines right over here. So let's take a look. Can they reach? Watch this. So VLAN 10, and I'm gonna now look. Of course, this is gonna work. So I'm gonna say VLAN 10 to here. First one is gonna fail. I'm gonna try this again. Okay, let's take a look now. Okay, let's see. It failed. Okay, I'm missing something. Pause the video for a few seconds. Let me know what I'm missing. Okay, I did not put a default gateway over here, which means it's not passing through the router. That's why I'm going to be showing you DHCP later on. So 10.254. See this, folks? 10.254. So a lot of work needs to be done to route between different VLANs. Then you can tell me, like, why put them in different VLANs? Of course, security and performance. You can specify which VLANs can talk to what. For now, all of them, they can talk to each other because I did a sub interface for each one of them. So for the ones that you don't want to do not create a sub interface. 192, or do not allow it to go through the trunk port, all right, like the way I showed you in earlier classes. And this one, 30.254. and this one is 30.254. Right over here. 30.254. Close and close. So now let me delete this. Put the envelope over here. Put the envelope here. First one is going to fail. Now it's going to pass. Again, envelope here. Success. Which means it's passing through the router. And how can I actually prove that? What's the IP address of this? This is 20.1. I can show you from here. So ping 20.1 is fine. I could reach it. VLAN 10 can talk to VLAN 20 now. Tracer 20.1. Okay, it's going through the router. 10.254, the router, then it's reaching the destination. See that? Or I could go to simulation mode. So if I go to simulation mode, open this and do the ping, watch, and I click on the play sign. Look what it's doing. It's going to go through the switch. Then it's going to go through the router. So you have to pass through the router. That's your default gateway. The IP address of the router. Then it's going to come down over here. See that? Just like that. See, that's how it actually works, right? That's how it works. It's going to come down like that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So this is actually a good thing. So what I'm going to do is actually the following. Let me just go back to real time. So if I say VLAN 30, can VLAN 30 talk to VLAN 20? First one is going to fail. Okay, but then I try again. It's going to what? It's going to pass. See, that's successful. See that? So now all the VLANs can talk to each other. But it was a lot of work. I had to put static IPs. In our next lecture, I want to show you how we could do DHCP and see how they could get IPs. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Well, everybody, welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, we're going to be looking at this. How can I make the router a DHCP server? And I'm going to be creating like a pool for each VLAN instead of putting static numbers. All right. So watch this. Let me open the router and take a look and see here. Well, if I look at my configuration, I don't have DHCP running. So the first thing that I do, global configuration mode, I need to exclude the IPs that I actually assigned, which is IP, DHCP, exclude address 192.168.10.254. See this? Space, question mark, and enter. Then hit the up arrow and do what? 20.254, and hit the up arrow and do what? 30.254. Then I need to create a pool for each scope or for each actual VLAN. So watch this IP, DHCP, ask for help, pool, question mark. I'm going to call this 10. Then if I ask for help, okay, what is the network? And question mark, watch this 192.168.10.0, space question mark, the mask. See that? I always ask for help. And then what's the next thing? Default router, which is what is the default gateway? Right? And the default gateway is what? 10.254. And then if I want to put a DNS server, I could. I don't need DNS over here. I hit up arrow and I do a pull for the 20. Arrow a few times. Okay, I change this to a 20. See, very easy. Up, you're not trying to improve your typing over here. You're trying to simplify things. 20, that's what you're going to be doing towards the end. And then I'm going to create a pool for the 30. And network is 30. And then I'm going to say 30.254, right? Just like this. Control Z. And I'm going to do WR and show my configuration. And then there we go. And now I have DHCP pool 10, DHCP pool 20, DHCP pool 30. I have one for each one of them. You see that? So the 10, the 20, and the actual 30 itself. Oh, look, here's the default router, which is 10.254, and I have 20.254, and I have 30.254. You see that? That's what I have over here. So, and I had to exclude the numbers that are actually not actually being given out. So there's no conflict at all. Watch this. Show IP DHCP binding, and I have all this information. So this is actually a good thing. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to each machine and obtain from DHCP. So I'm going to go to each one of them because that's how it should be. You're not going to be putting static IPs, right? Now this is the one. I'll close this and close this and close and VLAN 30 and close. And same thing for this VLAN DHCP and close. Well, if I want to see that it worked, let me go to the router and do show IP DHCP binding. And look, I got 10.1, 10.2, 21, 22, 31, 32 automatic. And here's the MAC address of my devices. So my router is also what? A DHCP server. So when I do a show run, folks, watch this. I could see that the DHCP here. I could do this. Show run. I like this command actually. Section. And look, I do a pipe, which is shift and the key under the backspace. And I'm going to say section DHCP. Just show me the DHCP stuff. That's what you want to show me, the DHCP stuff. That's one thing that you want to actually show me, DHCP. Okay, this is actually good. So what I'm going to do right now is, let me just show you a few things. So VLAN 10 should talk to VLAN 20 and VLAN 20 to 30 and so on. I just want to verify that it's working. Okay, success. Let's say VLAN 20 to VLAN what? To here. So laptop 4 to okay, everything looks good. So it's better. Instead of putting static IPs, I have DHCP on the actual what? On the router itself. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Okay. So what we're going to be looking at in our next lecture is I want to extend onto another switch and see if this DHCP server is going to give out IPs and if these machines, the same and different VLANs should be able to talk to each other. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Hello, everybody, welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, we're going to continue with InterVlan routing. I'm still using the same topology as I did before. Look what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to be adding another switch. I'm going to increase on the network. Right here's the switch, and I'm going to be putting more actual devices. So one, two, three, four, five, and six. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is the following. Let me hook up the actual cables. Port one, port two, port three, port four, port five, and port six. Right, and now I'm going to get myself a crossover cable from gigabit 02 to gigabit 02, right? Just like that. So same thing. This one is going to be on VLAN 10, and this one is going to be VLAN 10. This is going to be VLAN 20. This one is going to be VLAN 20, and this is going to be VLAN 30, and this is going to be VLAN 30. So this is what I actually have, VLAN 10, 20, and 30. All right, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create the VLANs. Okay, so one thing is this. Config T, change the host name to switch to, now I create the VLANs. VLAN 10, name sales. Okay, VLAN 20, right? Name HR. VLAN 30, name QA. Just like what I did on the other one, just like that. Then exit, and don't forget, let's put the ports in the corresponding VLANs. Ports 1 and 2, access VLAN 10. All right. See how quick it is when you get used to it? 3 through 4, up arrow twice, VLAN 20, and ports 5 through 6, VLAN what? 30. Just like that. Okay. Then do not forget to go to interface gigabit 0/2 and do switch port mode trunk. We have to trunk the port. And if I trunk it on this side, it should be trunked over here. So I could do the trunking on this side, and now the trunking is going to be. Remember, I used a crossover cable because they're similar devices. Let me fast forward. You'll see. I'm gonna stop fast forwarding when we get to the STP spanning tree protocol. You guys see that? It's gonna be a lot of fun. Show, and now I'm gonna do the same thing. Show interface trunk. Let's see which VLANs. See this? Okay, it's on gigabit 01. This is the one that actually goes to the router, and this got negotiated by the other switch, which is switch 2. Okay. Now, if I go back to the switch and I show you this over here, show interface trunk, and I could see 802.1q, and this is actually the one that I turned it on. Okay, let me take a look and see. Can I get an IP address from the DHCP server? That's what I want to see. I don't have to do anything else here. I just have to create the VLANs, move the ports to the corresponding VLANs, and that's it. Because I'm still going through that router. I only need one router, as you see, right? Let me go ahead and do the following on each one of them, all right? So right over here, just like that. So if I check my router and I do show IP DHCP binding, oh, I got the next numbers 343434. You see that? This looks awesome. What does that mean? Let me just take a look. I can see the number. So let me delete this. Can this one, can VLAN 10 talk to VLAN 20 here? Success. Beautiful. Can VLAN 30 talk to VLAN 10 over here? Success. Beautiful. Okay, I open this. This is what? Watch this. This is 10.3. Tracert 192.168.20.1. Oh, you're going to 10.254. You see this? Then you're reaching 20.1. This is perfect. Same thing. I go to simulation mode. I open this and I say, you know what? Let me go to the command prompt and ping, right? Let me this time ping, right? 20, let's say dot one. And I'm going to be in what? In simulation mode. So I'm trying to ping 20.1. I'm going to click on the play sign. So it's going to go through the switch. Look at this. Watch this. Look how this works. This is actually very interesting. Going through this switch, look where it's going to go next. It's going to go through where? The actual router. And then it's going to come down to that machine. I love simulation mode. It's like you could see what happens behind the scene. All right. This is amazing. Okay. That's how these things actually work, as you see, right? Let me go back to the regular mode that I was in, which is real time. So if I add another switch, same thing. I trunk that port, I create the VLANs, I move the ports to the corresponding VLANs, they'll get an IP from this DHCP server. So what I've been showing you is routing between different VLANs using a router. Well, guess what? I'm going to show you how this actually works the same way by using a multi-layer switch. All right. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Hello, everybody. It's Mo again. Welcome back. Well, in this lecture, what we're going to be looking at is how can we do inter-VLAN routing using a multi-layer switch instead of a router. Watch this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself a switch, a regular switch, just one, and I'm going to put a few computers under here. Same thing as what we had before. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. And then let me go ahead and connect these cables. So this one connects to port 1, and this one connects to port 2. And then we have 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, just like this. And I'm going to create 3 VLANs on the switch. Now, remember, a multi-layer switch can replace a router because it could be a switch and a router. But in my case, this is just a switch. This is not a multi-layer switch itself. At the beginning, I'm just going to go ahead and give static IP addresses. So I'm going to give this one 10.1. See this? And 10.2, 21, 22, and so on, just like what we did before. And this one is 10.2. And then 20.1 and 20.2. So this is going to be for VLAN 20, 20.1, and 20.2. So I have this one as 20.2. All right. And then same thing, 30.1 and 30.2. So I have 30.1. And then the other one is going to be 30.2. So here's this one, and I got 30.2 on this one over here. Let me go ahead and create the actual VLANs on the switch. So let me go to my CLI. I like to change the host name to SW1, and let's say VLAN 10 name sales. Up arrow twice, VLAN 20, name HR. VLAN 30, name what? Let's call it QA. All right. Then let me exit an interface range F0/1 to 2. Access VLAN 10 and ports 3 through 4. All right. Look at this. Ports 3 through 4 is going to be in VLAN 20 and ports 5 and 6 to VLAN what? 30. Right? Just like this. And this is VLAN 30. So let me go ahead and save my actual configuration. Right? So what I need to do right now is I know that only VLAN 10 can talk to 10, 20 to 20, 30 to what? To 30. So if I check my IPs, this actually looks good. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and put envelope from here to here. They're on the same VLAN. They should be able to what? Talk to each other, right? So VLAN 10 can talk to 10, VLAN 20 can talk to 20, and also at the same time, VLAN 30 can also talk to VLAN 30. But the problem that I have, VLAN 10 cannot talk to VLAN 20. Let me try one more time. All right. Remember, a lot of times the first ping packet will be lost. I cannot. So look what I do. I get myself a multi-layer switch, just like this. This device is switching traffic and it's routing traffic at the same time. So this is my multi-layer switch. So what I'm going to be calling this MLS number one, let's say. And if it's a switch to a switch, what kind of cable? Let's say we're not sure. This is what I like to do. I like to go ahead and just automatically choose from here to here. And look what it tells me over here. It tells me that I'm actually using what? It's a crossover cable. All right. So let me remove the cable. And I know that it's a crossover cable. And I'm going to connect it from what? Gigabit zero 01. And all these interfaces are gigabits. You see that? And I'm going to still go to gigabit 1/0/1 over here. I need to power my multi-layer switch and do this. So now my multi-layer switch is actually what? Powered. I should have green status. Okay, so I'm going to treat this device like an actual router, but by default, it's not a router. What I want to do is the following. I have VLAN 10, 20, and 30. Perfect. So what I'm going to be doing is an SVI, a switch virtual interface. An SVI is an interface for every actual VLAN. So I'm going to click on no, change my host name, all right, to MLS1, multi-layer switch one over here. And I'm going to say interface VLAN 10. You see this? I'm going to say no strut, turn the interface up, and give it an IP address as what? 10.254. Look what happens when I do 10.254, 255.0. And then I'm going to do the encapsulation. Let's see. Let me ask for help. And so first of all, let me just put the IPs right now. It's like, where's the encapsulation command? Do I need to encapsulate the command? Well, guess what? This device is not an actual router. I'm missing the encapsulation command. So I'm going to exit and I'm going to do IP routing. Look at this. Now I enabled routing. Now I go to my actual interface itself and I ask for help over here and I'm going to do a no shut. I already did a no shut command. It's actually there. So I need to make sure it's an actual router. I'm going to come back to the encapsulation. I'm going to do interface VLAN 20, enter, no shut, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and give it an IP address as what? 20.254, space the default mask. And then interface VLAN 30, I'm going to do no shut, all right, and give it an IP address as what? 30.254. So this is 30.254. So if I do a control Z and WR, and let me look at my actual configuration, I want to see, I have to do the encapsulation. Okay, is it the same thing as the router itself? Well, let's take a look and we'll see in a moment. I have VLAN 10, I have VLAN 20, I have VLAN 30, I have an IP address for each VLAN, and I enabled IP routing, which means this device is also acting as a router right now. So when I do show IP route, does that exist? Well, nothing is existing right now because I don't have an actual trunk. Okay. Or what interface did I use over here? This is what I'm talking about. So let's take a look and see how we can troubleshoot this. Show run. Okay. When I do show run, I'm using which interface? Interface gigabit 1/0/1. All right. So here, interface gigabit 1/0/1 and enter. And I'm going to put a question mark. Okay, what do I do over here? I mean, I could actually shut down the port. I could do no shut on the port, right? Okay, if I exit out and I say interface gigabit ethernet 1/0/1 dot and put a question mark. Oh, there you go. Okay, which means now I could create a sub interface over here. Let's say 10. Oh, only routers can have sub interfaces. Okay, so in other words, you want to try and do the same thing as what we did on the router, it doesn't work. Okay, what I need to do is I need to go back to this interface and trunk this port, which is what? Gigabit interface what? Remember, we used the actual port one. Member, if you forget, you go to preferences, You go to show port labels, and I could see over here that this is gigabit 0/1. So now I'm going to do interface. Watch this. Interface gigabit 0/1. And I'm going to do, of course, the actual what switch port mode trunk. So now I'm trunking the port. Now it went up. So I'm trunking this port. It triggered something on this side over here. Okay. So I go back over here. I'm like, okay, did something happen right now? Show IP route. Okay. I still don't see anything at all. Show run. Okay. What do I see over here? So I could see I have my VLANs. Okay. Config T interface VLAN number 10, right? And ask for help over here. I already did the actual IP address. So the IP address is actually there. If I maneuver over the switch, do I see IPs? I mean, I'm not going to see anything. I just actually saw something right now, right? So let me do show IP interface brief. Okay, show IP interface brief and see how this works. Okay, I do see VLAN 10, but it says down. VLAN 20 is down and VLAN 30 is what? Is actually down. Why are they actually down? Let's see. Let's see how we could actually fix this. Why is VLAN 10 and 20 and 30 down over here, but at the same time they're over here? Okay, let's take a look and see. Show interface trunk. Okay, VLANs allowed. It doesn't know about 10, 20, and 30. So I have to create them over here. Okay. VLAN space 10. Watch this. Oh, change to up. There you go. Okay, name is what? Sales. Okay, VLAN 20, right? Name, there you go. It's up. Nice, right? So name is HR. Perfect. VLAN 30. Enter. Name is what? QA. You see what just happened? WR. But now, how about if I do show IP route right now? Oh, I see them right now. VLAN 10, 20, and actually what? 30 are actually in the list. Okay, so I have to go to config T. Interface, VLAN 10. I put a question mark. Is there an encapsulation command? Okay, so forget about encapsulation. That's on the router. Okay, now I support 3 different networks. You see this? So you don't want to get confused between the router and the switch. So I see the 10, the 20, and the 30. Okay, no problem. What I need to do is let me just verify this. Let's put 10.254. All right, look at this 10.254. And I'm going to put over here 10.254. All right, just like this. So I'm putting 10.254 in the list over here, and I'm putting 20.254 here. See this? 20.254. So if you always work on a router and now like you're working on a multi-layer switch, yes, it could be an actual router, but the commands are different. Now I assign the actual IP for the VLAN. All right. Watch this. 30.254. Okay, so 192.168.30.254. And same thing over here, 30.254. So I have 192.168.30.254. Okay, so that's the IP address of the router, which is this device is a router right now. Okay, no problem. Let me put envelope over here and envelope over here. The first one is going to fail. Let me do this again here and here. It's success. I could route between different VLANs right now. You see, the first one is going to fail. Then I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, did not fail. It actually succeeded. It looks fine. So now I'm actually using a multi-layer switch for my inter-VLAN routing. Remember, I had to create the VLANs over here. Why did I delay that? You're going to see a chapter about VTP in our course right now, which is VLAN trunking protocol, and you'll see what kind of major effect is going to play with us. So remember, this is what I had to do on my devices. So let me look at my REN config. So I had to go to each VLAN and give it an IP address. At the same time, I had to create the VLANs. You see that? I did not have to move ports to the VLANs. I had to let this multi-layer switch know about the VLANs are actually created right over here. Okay, but if I try something here a little bit weird and I say no IP routing, all right? And look, I don't have IP routing running at all. Okay, so I disabled IP routing. And if I go back to my switch and I do show IP route, okay, there's nothing. Okay, what does that mean? Can these still talk to each other? Let's see. VLAN 10 to VLAN 10. Failed. You see that? VLAN 10 to VLAN 10. Failed. Why? Because routing is not enabled. This device is just a switch right now. So when I do the IP routing command, what does that do? It turns the device into also what? Into a router. So now I do Control Z and I do show IP route, and I can see that's how it's actually running. You see that? Just like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and test the communication from here to here. Success. Okay. From here to here. Success. Everything is back in business. That's what I wanted to show you here. So forget about the encapsulation command. That's only if you're using an actual router. If it's a multi-layer switch, we have to create the VLANs over here, right? And once we create the VLANs on this side over here, right, I have to assign an IP address to them, and I have to make sure the port is trunked. That's what I wanted to show you in this lecture. In our next lecture, we're going to see how I can make this device also as a DHCP server. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Mo again. Well, in this lecture, we're going to make our multi-layer switch a DHCP server. I mean, we are treating it like a router. All right. So let me go back and take a look over here. So watch this. I'm going to go to my global configuration mode. I'm going to exclude IP exclude address, same commands. I am treating this like an actual what? Remember, like an actual what? So I'm using 10.254, 20.254, 30.254, right? And then I'm going to create a pool for each one of them. So IP pool 10, and I'm going to say network is 192.168.10.0 space the default subnet mask. And I'm going to say default router, which is the default gateway, is going to be 10.254. Then I'm going to create a pool for the 20 network. And I'm going to say default, the network is what? 20.0, right? And the default router is what? 20.254. And then I'm going to go to what? IP DHCP 30. And I'm going to do what? Network is 30.0, right? And the default router is what? 30.254. Now I just created three actual pools. So if I WR, let me save my configuration, go run, and I can see exactly what I did on the router, right? You see that? Just like this. This is actually perfect. And I have my VLANs and I have the actual IP addresses. Okay, what does that mean? Well, let me go back and do the following. So I'm going to do a DHCP. You see this? DHCP, just like this. DHCP just like this. So I'm doing DHCP on all of them, right? You see that? DHCP, DHCP. So everything is obtained automatically from my DHCP server. Remember, if there's no DHCP, we'll be getting a people. So if I maneuver the mouse, I could see an IP, right? Everything's coming fine from the DHCP server. So if I go back to my DHCP server, which is my multi-layer switch, and I do show IP, DHCP binding, I could see all the IPs. So this is my DHCP server, as you see. What I could also do, I could add another switch and just trunk it and do the VLANs like the way I actually showed you before. That's what I wanted to show you in this lecture. Well, now our next lecture we're going to be looking at is VTP, VLAN trunking protocol. Did you see what kind of trouble we had earlier? I had to create the VLANs manually over here. I want to see how this can be done automatically through VTP. So we'll see you folks in our next lecture. Bye now.